Hey friends, welcome back to Lynn's Garden, and today we're going to do the April Backyard Garden Tour 2025, and the Texas food forest back here is coming alive, and so I'm really excited to show it to you. Let's get to it. It is April 19th, 2025. I'm here in Austin, Texas, and we are zone 9A. And it's time for the April Backyard Garden Tour. It has been almost 30 days, and I can't believe how much has changed in these 30 days. We'll start here with this beautiful Santa Rosa weeping plum tree. So what's different about this one is most of the plum trees, their leaves or stems grow straight up or straight up at an angle. And this one grows out slightly up, almost horizontal, and then starts weeping. And these branches have just started growing. And I basically cut it down to what my mother-in-law said, "That's a stick." And I said, "Yes, but don't worry, the branches will grow back." And so that I could get these beautiful long weeping branches. And I'm so glad that I put it right here in front of my kitchen window. So when I look out, I'm going to have a beautiful view. Around it, I just have my sweet potatoes growing their slips. And even better, over here, I have sweet potatoes that didn't get harvested last year. So if you miss any, they will be perennials and come back, which is fantastic because they just start growing at the exact right time, whenever the conditions are perfect for them. So this is a sweet potato vine right here. And I'm going to start taking cuttings and putting them in water to grow new roots. And who knows, I might have sweet potatoes earlier than my other slips I'm growing over here. Okay, these are the last of the seedlings, and I thought they needed to grow a little bit more, so some of them got potted up into the bigger 3-inch and 4-inch Epic cells from Epic Gardening. Over here you can see our native mealy blue sage or Henry Duelberg sage growing over here and along here. And bees absolutely love it, especially what I mostly see on it are the really big fuzzy bumblebees. It's been really windy lately, but this morning is a little bit more mild, and in the forecast is some rain. So hopefully we'll get some of that. We pretty much always need more, but we do get more rain than a lot of other areas of Texas. So all of these over here and along the patio edge, I made all of those plants from one plant that I bought, and it's over in this corner over there. I'll show it to you in a moment, but you can just break off a stem and stick it in the ground and it will grow a new plant. It is one of the easiest plants to propagate. So that's all I did. I didn't even grow out the roots first. I just stuck them in the ground right where I wanted them and grew them along this little trellis. And now I've just used some jute string that is I got from Lowe's for about $8, about 500 something feet of this I'm going to use for a lot of different purposes, but it is biodegradable and it really only lasts about a year before it starts to fall apart. So I just redo it every year. But these were starting to get so big, they were falling over, and I wanted them to be more upright. And pretty soon as they fill out, you will not be able to see the string anymore. So I'm going to do that in a lot of places where I have big floppy plants. And in some cases I don't mind it, but this right here is the edge of the patio and it would get in the way. Right over here, I have planted a ton of new little things. So I tried here to transplant one of our native wildflowers, and we'll see if that works. And I have a lot of little transplants from my seedlings that I grew indoors, and this is one of them, nasturtium. And this is a nasturtium called Alaskan salmon. So it's going to have salmon colored flowers, and it's got this variegated leaves that are so beautiful. I really love these because to me they look like floating lily pads. And you know, I don't have a pond here, so it's like I can get that tropical floating lily pad look. All right. Here, my bronze fennel is getting huge. It's so beautiful. And when they're ready, the butterflies, I believe this is a yellow swallowtail butterfly host plant. So they're going to lay their eggs on it and eventually eat like the whole thing down to the ground, but it will come back. And so we host a lot of butterflies here in this garden. And then right next to that, this I believe is an Alaskan daisy or African daisy. That would be quite different, but I can't remember what it's called. I did buy this plant and it just comes back every year. And soon it'll have these great big white daisies with yellow in the middle. Here is one of my apple trees, and it still hasn't leafed out, but the buds are getting bigger and fuzzier. So I think it's gonna come soon. This one is the Anna apple tree, and it's still a baby. And around that are all of these amazing blackberries growing. In the last month's video, you saw the white flowers, and now here we have a bunch of green blackberries getting ready to start ripening. They're not as big yet as they will be. They end up being these giant blackberries. And I love this plant because it's thornless, so it doesn't hurt to touch it, and I'm really trying to stay away from thorns if I can. And so I started with one plant, I think it was this one, and they spread their roots under the ground. So just a fair warning, if you don't want them to spread, you might not want this plant. So I do pick out a fair amount of, basically when they pop up a new plant, if I don't want it in that spot, I will just pull it out right then. And you could take that and make another plant if you want. And it is spread into about 3 shrubs in this line. Started with one plant. And when the vines get really tall, I just bend them over so that I can keep this about 2.5, 3.5 feet tall. Over here, I have some native milkweed coming up. This is called butterfly weed, or I think it's tuberosa. And it's gonna have these big orange flowers that are popular for all of the pollinators. And it is a milkweed for the monarch butterflies, but not the one that they love the most, which is why I've planted more native milkweed. So this one right here is a green antelope horns milkweed. And this is one that they really like as a host plant, so that we can host more baby monarch butterflies in our garden, and they will come back and lay eggs in the spot they were born very often. So then you can get your garden to start being a host garden for the monarch butterflies on their way up to Canada and then back to Mexico. So we are right in the flight path, and it is really amazing to have this wildlife coming through. Okay, so I have put in a ton of my little plants as well. So this one I grew indoors and started it around mid-January. Now, German chamomile. So a lot of these are gonna look very different soon. I've got a ton of these amazing sunflowers popping up, and I did thin them in this area so that they had enough room to grow nice and big. And they're going to be all over the garden, shading the rest of the garden through the summer. So here in Texas, having the different levels really helps, because full sun in Texas is way more than most full sun plants actually want. I have a ton of strawberries coming up. They're starting to make flowers, and I just planted them from bare roots in the last couple months, so that is amazing. Super happy about that. I have this holy basil, or tulsi, and I love this tea, so I can't wait. Basil is one of my favorites, and hopefully this year I'll be able to get enough basil to also preserve it and have it over the winter, because I've really been missing it. I've got some beets growing and Swiss chard, and I love Swiss chard. I've heard other gardeners say it's disgusting and just beautiful and people only grow it for Pinterest. But yes, it is beautiful. It is the same exact species as beets, but it's been cultivated for its leaves, and it grows all through the summer and all the way until frost. So most of the year here, and I love it. I eat it raw, and I also pick them and put them in cooking, soups, even salads, anything you want. And they're beautiful and super nutritious. And if you like the taste of beets, you'll like them because they taste like beets. Okay. Over here I have my onions, and these are supposed to be bulbed onions. This is my first year trying to grow them, and the greens have grown really well, but they haven't started to bulb out. So I think there's a good possibility they're not going to, because it's about to get really hot. But I have really been enjoying cutting off of these and having tons of these beautiful spring onions. So I think I would grow them anyway, even if we don't have a long enough season to really get big bulbs here. This little apple tree has started growing back. This one is another Israeli apple called the Ein Shimer. And the apple trees that I've got are a low chill hours apples, so they should be able to grow in our zone 9A, even though we don't get enough chill hours to grow apples really well here. There are a few varieties that will work. All right. This one borage plant has gotten huge. It's self-seeded from seeds that I planted last year. And it's got these beautiful flowers that taste like sweet cucumbers. And I really haven't experimented with eating the leaves, but supposedly the leaves are great for flavoring drinks as well and are also edible. But this has been an amazing pollinator plant. The bees love it. And there's still not a lot of stuff flowering yet. So it's great to have those plants. Right here, I have these wine cups that self-seeded themselves right here along my patio. And I absolutely love wine cups. I love to watch the bees. They just come and they like belly flop into the flowers. and then go and belly flop into the next one. And they just get the pollen all over themselves, and that's how they pollinate the next flower, when they belly flop in it. It's so cute. I don't know, you guys, do you think bees are cute? I think they're so cute. Comment below and let me know what you think. All right, now I'm walking on my pathway. Got all the weeds out, on this side anyway. We've got tons of potatoes growing over here, and they even started flowering. Let me see if I can find one. I guess these flowers are not open right now, but the flowers are so pretty, white with yellow in the center. There are some potatoes over here that are actually a different variety, but they have similar looking flowers. And basically looks like this. So pretty. So I planted these potatoes, less than maybe 2 months ago or so, and they're already huge. Here's another patch over here. I have a patch in the front yard and another patch over here behind this tree. These over here are the tallest, so I think they're stretching for light because it is a little bit shadier over here. But they still seem to be doing really well. Right along here, I'm growing peas. I planted these from seeds in February sometime, actually, early February. And I've been getting the not fully mature ones, but the little snap peas, and I've just been eating those in the garden. They're so delicious. So none of them have made it into the kitchen yet because I've been just eating them like garden snacks this whole time. So I have them all along this tiny little fence. They were only supposed to get about 3 feet tall. They're a shorter variety. And this fence is only 2 feet tall, so they are growing over it, but hopefully it's good enough still. Most of the flowers were white, but I was surprised to see some of them are this pink, almost red in the middle. You see that? I love it. It's so pretty. Over here, I have my bird bath, which I've gotten so many beautiful shows inside. They love to come and hang out in this orchid tree. And it's starting to get its leaves. You can see that. They are really beautiful leaves. And it was covered in white flowers, but now they're actually making their little beans, because this is a legume tree. Let me see, I think I found some right here. They're so tiny right now. I don't know if you can see that. So anyway, if I get the beans, I'll probably pick them off and give them to my local seed savers. They want native seeds. So depending if you have any of these trees and you want to donate seeds, let me know. I'll get you in contact. I'm still getting a beautiful show from the pink evening primrose. Over here is my palm tree. It's alive and it's growing. So I'm super happy about that. It's a baby. I just planted it in November and it lived through the winter. Welcome. It's a Mexican fan palm, so hopefully if I'm lucky it will get tall. And behind that is the Engelmann's daisy, a native plant. or called cutleaf daisy sometimes, and it's about to flower. Right here I have the Rudbeckia, or black-eyed Susan. This is the coneflower. And yeah, lots of native plants, and then I've also planted a lot of my little seedlings in here. So these little plants are so pretty. Dusty Miller is the common name, and these are native to our area. And fun fact, although they are white, that is actually like a sunscreen for them. And you can even wipe it off a little bit, which is interesting. And yeah, so they can live in Texas for a while. They do die down. I'm not sure if they'll come back next year or not. These I just got this year. But they did make it through the winter, and now they're getting quite big. Here's more basil, the Tulsi holy basil. And then I've started sticking up some tomatoes. So I've got a tomato right there. This is a Fuji apple tree. And growing up around that now is another edible plant, edible leaves, jewels of opal. And this ends up with really cute flowers, and then these little circle kind of berries that are different colors, which I think give it its name. My Texas everbearing fig tree is getting big, getting lots of leaves. Down here I have a bunch more of the Rudbeckia, or the black-eyed Susans. And this is a flame acanthus, another native, but it has a yellow flower instead of the more common Elmo orange red flower. I don't know what to call that color, neon red. And some random Swiss chard. I've got an eggplant right here. And here is some kind of squash or cucumber. And this is one of my biggest tomatoes so far, and it's flowering. So I hope we get some tomatoes before it gets too hot. That's always the race here. And my jujube trees here in these pots, they are flowering. I have a jujube Lee and a jujube Lang tree, and they are pollinators for each other. And they're both flowering at the same time, so that's a good sign. I have not gotten fruit from these yet, but I've had them for many years, so yeah, wish me luck. Okay, over here in this corner, I've got wine caps coming up with more of the native mealy blue sage. These colors all look so lovely together, and it is Easter weekend if you celebrate Easter, and I just think these colors are so perfect. Just these pastels, so beautiful in the spring. My summer colors are much brighter, you will see, so it's more summery. Here's a Turk's cap coming up. Planted tons of those. Over here, I've got tomatoes also flowering. These are ones that I grew indoors from seed. And down below, I have a marigold that didn't get eaten yet because something really likes these guys. And coming up here, passion fruit, our native passion fruit, which is the maypop, a purple flower. And it should get pretty big, but it hasn't flowered yet. I got it a couple years ago, but it has survived and is coming back, so Wish me luck with that. There's another one. Some random beans coming up. And I have some of this native Texas grass over here. My neighbor's kid is crying. Ah, yes, urban gardening. Okay. I'm trying not to step on anything. Okay. Let's keep going over here. And behind here, I planted a ton of asparagus, and I planted them from crowns about 2 months ago, or maybe even less. And they're already coming up with these beautiful little ferny things that, very skinny stems at this point. It has to take a couple of years before the stems get big enough for you to harvest them, but then you have food for at least 20 years. So that's exciting. I love asparagus. Got tons of strawberries just everywhere because I planted 50 bare roots. Some hollyhock. Another tomato. Under the fig tree, we've got some tomatoes that I'm hoping I can grow up the tree, basically use the tree as the trellis. And also for these little, actually these might be a yellow squash, which probably does not climb. I got one that was a bush style, and all the other ones are going to need a trellis. So for these bush style ones, I am going to need to protect them against the squash vine borer, my nemesis. And I'll show you later in another video how I'm going to do that. Over here, I have this beautiful patch of grass. This is our Texas state grass, and it's called Side Oats Grandma. Yep. Whew. Beautiful. And kind of looks like oats, tiny oats coming off. I think that's where it got its name. All right, guys, I'm gonna sign off and do the other half as a second video, because now that I've got so many plants, my videos would be like an hour long. So I hope you have a beautiful weekend. Happy Easter if you celebrate Easter. If not, just have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next week.